All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Artificery episode. We're five,
No,
episode
I think
five
this is only
podcast.
4.
No, it's
No, I'm
5.
pretty sure it's five.
Holy crap.
Feels like
We did
episode
3
2 to
without
me.
Wyatt and Sean.
I know. Yeah, we skipped last week, so now like the math is all off, or like I'm thinking like, what week are we in? But it's actually episode 5. We've made it. We have Wyatt back this week. Kyle, aka Kylos Bren. We didn't chase him off completely.
We tried.
We tried.
You did your honest best.
And then, your ever loyal, we have Garrett, aka 0 Hour, and other Nick, aka Taxter. And I, of course, am Nick, aka the Gandork, back once again to talk about Star Wars Unlimited. All right. Let's see what has happened. A lot has happened in 2 weeks. Like, we took a week off because
This
we're
is
like,
why you don't skip.
Yeah.
I know, because we're all like, it feels like, we didn't have a lot to talk about. And we're like, we could probably skip a week. Maybe we'll have more to talk about. And then, like, all of a sudden, we have the stream about competitive play from FFG. And I think there was 14 spoilers that happened in 2 weeks.
This week's been a little slow, at least, but...
I know, but yeah, because they had, don't forget, I always forget, they did the TwitchCon, which they gave out spoilers.
Yeah, we didn't even go over TwitchCon, so
yeah,
that was a big
but there wasn't any like news out of TwitchCon. I think it was just them kind of showing off the game, more or less, and then they had the stream in this. So
we got a little bit about. I feel like we got our first teasers of Cunning at TwitchCon. I feel like they kind of tried to be like, this might maybe kind of be what Cunning does. We're not going to tell you for real until next week.
Yeah, I mean, we had what, Boss and Wedge, though, were the 2 spoilers.
Dooku.
Dooku. Yeah, so they had a spoiler of like 3 of the colors. We just didn't get a red one. Anyway, we'll talk about those toward the latter half of the thing. But first, I wanted to talk about the FFG competitive play stream. They tried to give us a more in-depth outline of what the competitive play structure will look like, which all sounds pretty good, but we did get some, I think, of the first slightly negative news that the players are taking, and that is that of the bigger competitive events, that these aren't actually happening until 2025. Till full 3 sets are out.
Yeah, it's the only downside to me, really.
It's the first negative thing I've felt about the game, pretty much. Period. And I get it, but I also want to have excuses to meet up with y'all and play stuff and all the rest of the community. And I mean, there'll be some for the other stuff, but just gotta wait a year.
As someone who's looking for reasons not to be excited, I'm not excited.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, to some extent, I understand waiting maybe till a few sets are out to run what they're calling the regional qualifier level, and of course the world's level, because big events on one set metas aren't really that interesting. I get it. I think the first Destiny Worlds was 1 set at that point.
It was just Awakenings.
And it's the only reason I did well.
Yeah, the only reason I did well, because there was 3 decks.
I mean, I did well at other stuff too, but the first Worlds was interesting. The deck that won wasn't even no one else was playing that deck pretty much except for the people that did it, and I don't even
remember the Vader Raider deck.
It was not a normal Vader Raider deck though. Vader Raider was popular, but this is one that ran a completely weird and different set of cards. So it was unique.
It did do some characters. But yeah, there was 2 or 3 Vaders in the top 8. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I remember it wasn't a huge, amount of deck diversity, because you can't really do it out of 1 set.
And Han Rey and Jabba Dooku.
The best
Jabba Dooku, was that set 1? It was.
Sean ran that.
Yeah.
He ran my Jabba Dooku.
Enough about the dead game. So no, I get competitive events. Wait till, they have more sets. But the small, the sector qualifiers, their GQ level events, feels weird to me that they're waiting till 2025 to start those. Hopefully early 2025. I guess let's break it down at least what the events are, and then we can kind of talk to them. So at the lowest level of competitive events, they have their planetary qualifiers, what your store only single day events, prizes for participation, prizes for final placement. Winners of these events will qualify for the Galactic Champs, and these start with set 2. So like these will be the highest level competitive events that we get in the first year of the game, but it won't start until set 2. And these are equivalent to like your, I don't know, what was the Destiny equivalent? They just called
We
them
have been saying they're
regional.
kind of like regionals.
Yeah.
So I
Are
know
they
like we're
not like
trying to
store
equate it to
championships?
Destiny. I don't think it's going to be exactly regionals. My hunch is it's still going to be a little. I don't feel like regionals were still that common. That is to say, in Destiny, I think this is still going to be more common than regionals. So I think there's going to be more of them than we ever had for Destiny regionals,
This
Well, I
even
seems
if
to
know.
it's the
me
lowest level thing.
more like a store championship, which was like the first
Well,
event
we
I
have the
got
store
into it.
championship kind of thing, which is the casual thing. But yeah, to me, it feels like it's going to be somewhere in between, where we're going to have a lot more of them, but we're not going to have literally every store all the time, like store champions, which the store showdown can be literally every store.
Right, and
So
I
this
was
is
gonna
going to be
say
somewhat exclusive, but tied to stores.
I don't know about regionally for you all, but like where I was, the store championship event, there was only like 3 stores within driving distance that did those like in a given season for me. So it seems closer to this anyway than like my local didn't get a store championship. So the casual version feels like it's more likely to happen than something like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same for me pretty much. I know before COVID, when FFG still had X-wing, they stopped calling them regionals and started calling them hyperspace trials.
Mm.
I guess just to change up the terminology, and then because they were doing them like 2 a year, they did 2 seasons a year. So it feels kind of like they might be going for a similar structure to that, so that it's not as hard to find as like here's your one regional for the year.
Well, and if
Yeah,
I'm
and the
reading
real
this,
question is, are we trying to do? They what they didn't say is like, yeah, it's all kind of built around one season, kind of being the whole year, but like, say my city, say if my city only gets one planetary, one regional type of thing, is that per set in each year, or is that per year total? Like those are the kind of questions where I just don't know. That they had like they said it's a wide event. It's supposed to be a lot of them, low points, but the winner does get an auto invite to Worlds Galactics, which is
which is
cool.
pretty interesting because I want to say store championships, it was like a one round buy or something,
It
right?
was a one round by 2 regionals,
Yeah, to
Yeah,
even.
regionals. So like this immediately makes it more worthwhile.
Yeah, it sounds like not not winning it isn't going to be super lucrative in terms of getting points towards worlds, but the fact that the winning is an auto win is still probably that, like the planetaries might be your easiest way to get into worlds in like one fell swoop. Just win one and boom, you're done. You got it.
yep.
Again,
Which
depending
is
on how.
cool. I actually really like that. But to be honest, like before, it was pretty much that was the only way. It was like you got to win those things, and that was the only way. But it's nice that that is still there, and then you have the point system. That sounds cool to me.
Yep. No, yeah. So yeah, I think a lot hinges on just how many, which we just don't know. Like we can
Yeah,
speculate,
and
but
they might not even have a fully known yet. They're probably trying to
Yeah.
figure out what the best way to run all this.
And like
yeah.
2025 sounds far away, but when you consider that the game doesn't come out until the third month of next year, it's not as far away, I guess.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
And
it's
these
still further
planetaries will
than I
start in
wish.
set 2. Like we're talking mid to late summer that we'll start
Yeah.
having planetary qualifiers. And like hopefully we have like more than one or at least one for each season, but who knows.
and they didn't
Moving
say
on.
like
Oh,
more
sorry.
than monthly. Or yeah, I guess we can go like the next ones are only monthly. So the fact that these are supposed to be more than monthly makes me feel like they're going to be all the time, all over.
Yeah, or at least just all over, in maybe blocks. Because yeah, the next one they said, expect like 12 a year, which were the sector qualifiers. These are standalone events. They emphasize that they're not going to be tied to other events or conventions. They're going to be 2-day events, so you'll have like a Swiss and Top Cut type thing. They will have a prize wall, a la people that played in the Destiny Galactic qualifiers that you get tickets or points to turn in at the prize wall. They'll still have participation and final placement prizes. And then they said the top finishers will get points to qualify for the Galactic Championship, but it's depending on the number of players. So instead of the planetary qualifiers where it's just the winner, this one, depending on how many players, it might be the top 4, it might be the top 8. It just depends how many they get.
That makes sense.
And there's no, they did not state one way or another that there was any cash on the line for any of these other ones. Like,
they strictly
my
did
hunch
not
is
talk about
no,
price.
because like we haven't had it for FFGs, but they could be completely different. But if the past is a sign for anything, which for a lot of things in this game it isn't, but I don't know. I don't know whether to expect cash prizes at these things or not. I really don't care. Well, I would vote more towards not, especially for these early things, like maybe for the top end stuff. But
cash prizes draw a different crowd, and
agreed.
Until the hedge fund that owns Asmodee is like believing this product rolls in so much money that sprinkling a little bit out brings in more, it's just not going to happen. So
that does seem likely as well.
Yeah, I played a lot of Magic. I'm kind of okay if there's not cash prizes for this.
I don't know. I always play the counter argument of we've still got plenty of cheaty players even without cash prizes, so it's not
Fair enough.
necessarily
That's part of it.
complete
It's more than
argument.
just cheaty players. Like I'm not necessarily worried about that. There's just like an overall tone, and like things get more like, I don't know. I just, the idea of like people taking it more serious. Like I want to take the game seriously, but I also want to have fun at the same time. Like for the most part, even in a top cut of a game, I still want to have a demeanor that isn't just like, I don't know. I'm a
Get
different
it,
person, I guess. I want to
but we've
win,
still
but I
had
also
those
want to.
players, haven't we? Even with Destiny or
I
any
know,
of the
but it's like
We
a
do.
proportion thing,
right, I want to play against
You
at
put more
most
bait
one of
out,
those
you get
people a
more
tournament.
Sorry, go
sharks.
ahead, Wyatt. What'd you say, Wyatt? I didn't catch it.
No, I'm just with Nick on this. Like, I don't want to play more than one of those type of personalities per tournament. I don't want it to be all of those people.
Yeah. No, I would agree that probably for like sector qualifier level, I don't care if there's cash prizes. I wouldn't mind seeing them when you start getting up to like the regional qualifiers that are like 3 events per year or 4 events per year, whatever they
Yeah.
said, or the
Yeah,
Galactic
that's fair.
Championship. Because I like that there's like, I think for any type of game, uh, it's very beneficial, like eyes wise on your game, to get to the point where you quote unquote can get professional players. Yeah, they're not like actually making a living, but just get those players that are able to like free roll and come back to events. Because I think people really like buy into that and follow it. It gets a lot of eyes on your game, and it's really hard to get to that level. Uh, except for people that might have a ton of money and tons of time off that can do these things without like ever making any money off of it. But maybe makes the playing field a little bit more fair if just simply good players can get back to these events year after year because they're actually earning prizes to help them get there.
Yeah.
All right, we kind of got sidetracked off of that, but I think the sector qualifier is the closest thing. Like they're Destiny GQs. They might even be ran
Not the
by
same format, but
not the same
font.
format. They did talk about like they could have side events and stuff there. Like there'll be ways to earn tickets and a prize wall and whatnot. And going ahead of that, they have their regional qualifiers, larger events. They didn't say that these wouldn't be tied to a convention, so I'm assuming that frequently the regional qualifiers might end up tied to a convention, but it's kind of a question mark. These will also be 2-day events. These ones they said would be more limited than sector qualifiers. So if like sector qualifiers were 12 times a year, one a month, these would be 3 times, 4 times a year, or maybe
like
one every other month. I don't
nationals, like
know.
where
They're
we
like
had
nationals.
where we
Yeah.
had LVO and Nova essentially as like our 2 in the US kind of
Yeah.
places.
Or like they'd have like 6 of these a year, and you'd see like the US get 2 of them, Europe get like, 2 or 3, maybe throw 1 or 2 to the Brazilian or Australian crowd if they get a big enough following. They didn't really talk much about the prizes on this one, but assuming that they would have similar prizes as a lot of the other things. And then the other thing that they mentioned about this is that the regional qualifiers might have format twists that like the lower level events wouldn't have. but they didn't really expand on what that could mean. I'm assuming it could mean draft or other limited formats might be a thing.
I'm assuming 2 functions. 1, best of 3. 2, strip unlimited. Every time you lose, you have to lose a piece of clothing. It just makes sense.
Yeah, strip unlimited. Um, just to catch
Unlimited
Wyatt
stripping.
up, they did announce their constructed format is best of 3 with a sideboard, so we know that's been confirmed.
Sorry, my bad. That means we're talking best of 1 at these formats. I got my details confused. I'm very closely following all the news of this game.
Yes, he's got it. But yeah, not a lot of extra information in there. And then lastly we have the Granddaddy Galactic Championship, which is the Worlds. It's the biggest event, last event of quote unquote their season. It will be invitation exclusive, except for the first one in 2025, where they said it'll be an open event. But if you earn enough points from all of the previous events, you could get a day 1 buy. It will be a 3-day event, so they haven't really said what that looks like, other than it'll have 3 days. It's the first event where day 2 players will qualify for the next year's Galactic Championship, and they'll also have side events, the first sector qualifiers for the next season, the whole shebang.
I mean, if it's 3 days, my guess is 2 day 1 flights, and then day 3 is your day 2. But who knows?
No, because the way they said it, it should be because you can get a whole day 1 buy. I don't know. I maybe depends on how big they're trying to go with it too.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
to be.
I mean, a whole day buy does seem really good compared to a first round buy, which is meh. And especially if did they actually say day 2 people got auto into the next Worlds?
I don't know if they said auto into the next
Or
Worlds, or at
points
least started
or
earning points for the next Worlds.
I mean, that's also huge. The fact if you can get to the point where you get a buy for a whole day, then you're auto starting to earn stuff. That would be pretty crazy good.
Yeah, they just said, as for tournament points, anyone who makes it to day 2 and beyond will earn themselves tournament points for the next season. Yeah, so they didn't really specify if you auto qualify, but I would imagine day 3 finishers will probably all get enough
assume
for
so.
the next one. If you're top 16 or top 32, that you're probably getting enough points if the event's big enough to just come back for next year's.
I can pretty confidently say that the 1 day is good because the 1 round buy isn't all it was chalked up to be. And I know that because during the last Destiny Worlds, I lost my first 2 games and was literally the lowest ranked player and got a buy because there was an uneven amount of players. And it didn't feel that good, That's all I'm saying. 1 round, it's not that good.
It was hard in Destiny 2 because you were given the worst strength of schedule, I think, with the buy in a lot of the cases, not super SOS.
The buy counted just as nothing, whereas it was
a net not great for your strength.
it was a net nothing where it wasn't negative. You would have been worse off if you beat someone round 1 that went 0-2, 0-3 drop. That's worse.
True.
But compared to people that played someone round 1 that finished better than that, because I think in Destiny you were net someone could only net -3, I think, against your SOS. So yeah, anybody that stayed at 500 was or above 500, even slightly, would pay big dividends. So yeah, it kind of mattered, but that was early Destiny. Later on they went to just no tiebreakers, and then it didn't matter. Which
fair.
is better format anyway, I think.
I'm a much bigger fan of record based cuts. Everyone that hits this thing cuts instead of trying to do the strength schedule tiebreakers is just bad. And honestly, I think every FFG ran tournament, even I think Gen Con did it that way too. So I think all the big FFG ones were always run that way. Were done properly, so to say. But some of the other regionals and stuff were still strength of schedule based.
They let a lot of the regional levels just be ran, but however the person wanted. There were loose structure in some of them, but no, it was even the first year that I had judged all the big Destiny events. It was still strength of schedule. It wasn't until the second year, which was I think heading into the second or third year of the game, that they started to do it the other way, which I think people much prefer just the win-loss record. Even if you have to have that play-in round into the top cut, they would rather do that than just you get in on tiebreakers. Congrats.
I like it much more. As someone who
Yeah.
didn't make
like a
Day
big
2
picture
in
level.
X-Wing or Destiny on Worlds, I still like it more.
Yeah. What were you saying, Wyatt? I didn't
I have,
catch
I have a
that.
question for you guys at like kind of a big picture level, based on what's being presented here. Are you overall excited or not hesitant, I guess, about the way they're planning the competitive?
I'm excited outside of the time frame. That was the only thing that was really a jarring thing with me. It was just how late the big stuff started. And honestly, it'll probably be fine in the end. But the rest of it, I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah, I like the structure. It's say I think pretty much the refrain you're going to hear from most people is the time frame. But the structure is fine. I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I would say I'm mostly excited. I think people are disappointed in the time frame because they wanted, they want it all now. But I think if you pay attention historically to like what happened with Lorcana and what happened even with Destiny, where these games came out and they didn't have any OP structure like to look forward to. Like Destiny didn't when it came out. Like they had nothing and people jumped into that game and you're like, we don't even know. Like it took Destiny a while for they even got like store kits, like weren't even a thing for like a few months. Like, so I don't know, like having this much structure is definitely a first for FFG, and it's I don't know. I'm excited about it. Like to know that they have the structure planned out.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming the first season of like casual OP goes well. I think that'll also put a lot of people the fact that if store kits are there like day one, ready to go, and everyone's got their casual OP stuff. If there's a good pipeline, or if we ran out, but people are still coming, or we have a huger crowd, like as long as we don't run out of that kind of stuff, and it's I don't know. I feel like the casual like booster pack thing is going to be a lot of fun for that, and that can definitely be enough to carry the game for the first while.
I think that makes sense. I find myself like really hoping that they underpromise and overdeliver. Yeah, underpromise and overdeliver here, as opposed to the alternative. This is a lot of structure up front, which is awesome, and it's really positive to see it. But even the fact that we're asking questions about like, how's that day one buy work, right? There's kind of a lot of details being presented for something that is over a year away, with I'm sure a ton subject to change. And so it's interesting to me that they're saying so much up front while not necessarily having an event, like you said, until 2025. So the other thought I had was, I really hope that if they have set delays, they don't delay any of the events, because it'll be important that I have found almost everything I've liked since COVID. There's some sort of built-in set or scheduled release delay, and assuming that happens to this game, which probably it will statistically, it'd be good to make sure that events still fire in the timeline communicated, and it's not like late 2025 because they didn't get the set out on time, that sort of thing.
I'd be pretty willing to bet that we're not going to have set delays in the first year. Can't say that, like, it just feels like they have their stuff together pretty well for that. But I could see. I mean, year 2, 3. I don't know if like any number of things could fall behind, but I think like just from what I hear, it seems like they got everything in a
I'm
good
Not
spot for now.
I'm excited. You think there's a year 2 and 3 in store? That's great.
there's a year 4 and 5 in store. Like,
How long was Destiny? 3 years? Really? Was that it? Honestly, it feels like it was a
it
long
was
time,
a
but that
little
it actually
over.
wasn't that long.
It was a little over 3 years because set delays.
it came out at the end of
So
2016.
they had 9
And
Yeah,
sets.
set 10
They
never
didn't
saw the
get
light
9
of
sets
day.
in 3 years.
it ended a little bit after the end of 2019, early 2020. So
Early
yeah, a little
20,
bit over
yeah.
3 years. But like that's not that like Destiny's release model. When you actually go back and look at it, which I did recently, wasn't that it was like 4 to 5 months per set. Like it wasn't that far off from what they're shooting here for
Right.
this. Those seasons did kind of feel long for a while with Destiny. Like, so I don't feel
It's
like I never felt, or like not short, maybe not long, but like I didn't feel like for the most part I felt like, oh man, the next set's out already. I can't believe it. Like, no, I feel like I was ready for the new set when it came out. I had my fun with the one I did. So
I'm
Wow.
I think the
I'm
cadence of 4
less
months is gonna be good.
I'm less worried than I was for most of Destiny because there's no dice to manufacture. So like
Yeah,
that cuts out
obviously that's a big
a significant amount of their issues, which I think, I mean, I don't know people at FFG, but based on what we've heard and kind of what they've talked about, is that the dice production is what always held stuff up. So if taking that out, I'm way less worried about delays.
Here's hoping Chinese New Year doesn't also impact this game.
Well, we talked about that at least, I think maybe on the second one a little bit about like I bet they're gonna have product. They're gonna have everything like in warehouses ready to go probably by like January, because I don't think they're gonna. They obviously February doesn't exist essentially, so they. I mean, but to be fair, it also takes like a month to ship everything to the U.S. So obviously they're gonna have everything by then. So
Yeah.
I mean, they've been
I
telling stores they'll have their allocations in January, like what they're going to get. So
yeah,
I'm guessing they will have stuff like they'll know that it'll be stateside by January, so they can hit those pre-releases March 1st.
We got a fifth podcast member down here.
Kitty. So yeah. Anyway, I think we've pretty much covered that, and all the good and some of the bad and all the good stuff. So, moving on. 14 spoilers in the last 2 weeks. It's way too many spoilers, but let's try to go through them and give some like quick hits on like what we think of some of these cards.
starting with
First,
Wyatt every time.
starting with Wyatt. We'll go to Wyatt every single one. You tell us how to use these, Wyatt.
All right, let me tell you, I think that Green Squadron A-Wing is one of the best 2-cost cards in the game right now. The fact that you can get initiative and take away any other 2-cost card is just fantastic. I'm here for it.
Familiar.
I feel like someone told you what to say. For this one.
I feel like I almost said this word for word earlier.
The only downside of this card obviously is raid 2 because it's a little under the power level of another level 2 out the gate. But if you have initiative in an aggressive deck, I think this is pound for pound the best opener you could play.
That's
Yeah, I
dead
think you
on.
said it pretty well.
Wow. Garrett, Nick, any other thoughts you want
No
to share?
notes. What am I gonna say?
No notes.
I think that card's great. I don't know how much I'll actually be playing in a Hero Red. Red is, yeah, I'm not super into Red, but I mean, I believe more the control side of Red, and you could still play this in like a mid-range deck. Like it's super good still. I just don't see myself playing Hero Red that much in this thing, but it is a good card.
I mean, the deck I've been playing mostly is Sabine, so this was as soon as this was spoiled, immediately in the deck.
Yeah, you guys can have your Sabine. I don't think I'm gonna play her like at all.
Moving on to something that Nick will more like, the Academy Defense Walker. Nick, take us through the Academy Defense Walker.
Oh, I love this. This thing is like, hey, you can play with Krennic, and Krennic's fun. I like Krennic a lot. Doesn't feel perfect. He kind of feels like he needs some more tools, and he's gotten some more tools very recently. This one of them, like the fact that it's a Sentinel that basically does exactly, or basically it rewards exactly what Krennic wants to do. Is just have a little bit of damage on some stuff, and then they get even more strong with this thing. And it's a Sentinel. Like, I don't know what the actual point to how many of these tokens you really want to get to feel good. Like, one's still probably good enough to like play it. I mean, obviously a late game, just a Sentinel in general might just be necessary. 6 cost 5/5. I mean, that still feels understated by a bit, but
It's a 5/5 Sentinel.
it's a
though.
Sentinel,
Like,
and it's hard to value Sentinel. But
you can't open fire it.
Yeah, I think Sentinels have been under curve
take
by
it
like
down.
one drop, so it's still on curve for a Sentinel, not counting the when played. Judge note on this one for people that have asked and I've answered this. You can play this with Energy Conversion Lab, which it has the epic action to give it ambush. So you can play this with ambush, and then ambush and wind plater simultaneously. You can choose which order you want to do them. So you can do the ambush attack first, running this guy into something to kill it, and if he lives, he'll be damaged. Then you can resolve the wind played, giving an experience token to himself. And
also with Piet, not just
also with Piet, because Piet gives him ambush as well.
Wyatt,
what's your breakdown of this one?
Yeah, I mean, maybe undercosted, but I do have a question based on my complete ignorance.
Sure.
Are there a lot of cards right now that are designed to do damage wide against a board? Like, does this counter things that would be seeking to go wide, or is that not really a play style?
As of right now, Overwhelming Barrage is like the only multi-target.
Okay, so this is more
removal,
about
the and Palpatine, I guess.
This is synergy you create for yourself, not something that an opponent doesn't want to give you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
For the most part, yeah.
Seems like a good tool in that situation, and otherwise, meh.
But do you know what scene that's from?
Yeah, it's from Rebels.
Rebels.
Yeah.
When
it's Liberation
Jabba
Day.
the Hutt took the walker. Yeah.
Isn't that okay? So that's actually an ATDP, right? Isn't that what it's? What it was called?
It's actually an.
I just call it the PP Walker. It's the
I think
PP
we
Walker.
had it in Destiny, and it was literally called the AT.
All I'm saying is that Walker is packing, and he's not afraid to show it.
It's the baby chicken Walker. It's the chick Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
chick things that I have to get out of my system before next week. Going on. Seasoned Shoretrooper. Garrett, tell me about the Seasoned Shoretrooper.
I like this card a lot. I mean, it's a 2/3 for 2 that just gets stronger later, and it's an Imperial. It's good. It's gonna find it will be in probably most green villain decks. I would put it in any green villain deck I'm playing. Like, you can get it with Tarkin, you can boost it, it just gets stronger over time. Like, I like it.
Right. I think you're always happy to have round 1 plays that are still relevant round 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy's good and sticky. With like the 2/3 means that like he's not necessarily going to die right away to like the first attack, depending on what the 1-drops are. But like a body for Tarkin to buff, and just the fact that like late game it punches above its weight class for a 2-drop.
I like the art too. It's good art.
I do too. It's pretty good.
I was gonna say that's actually what I'd like to speak to here. That guy is clearly packing heat, and he's likely, if you took off the armor, I think he has like a 12 pack. Like, the only way you can have that posture and be so confident shooting is if your core is really, really strong. So that dude's the guy you want to take not just to the shore, but to the beach.
Right. He's
so
ready
you're
with
saying
the
he's like
armor
Kylo Ren. He's more ripped than Kylo Ren.
Now, Kylo Ren had like a weird mono ab with the way he carried that shirt around. This guy's the guy you actually want to be on the beach volleyball team with.
Well, I don't know about you, but a friend of mine saw Kylo Ren in the shower, and he said that Kylo Ren had an 8-pack. And he was shredded.
SNL things. Moving on. Next spoiler, General. Is it Tag or Taggy?
I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say different ways.
It's actually Tajiji.
It's Tajay.
I like my brain says Taj. Like, that's kind of where I go, but Taggy sounds weird, so I just don't want to. I don't want to believe that's the right way.
I've always said Taggy.
I feel like it's not pronounced in any media. I'd have to go look out.
I don't think they said it in Star Wars.
Anyway, Wyatt, you tell us about General Tajay.
If I'm being honest, I really wish he was a 3-cost 3/3 with his effect, because I think that'd be more on theme.
You're not wrong.
3/3/3/3/3. Yeah.
Right. That's I think, like, if it's a little interesting to me that he's so cheap, and like, that's good. It means if you swarm the board, you can play him along with something else in the same round to get maximum effect. As early as 4? But yeah, I kind of wish, since he's made to be played a little bit later to really benefit, I wish his body was a little bit better to compensate.
Right. He's a 2-drop that you don't want to play round 1, which is always
just for the important thing. Apparently, looking stuff up in like older English, that might have been just pronounced Tag, which is also what I was thinking. It might have just been Tag, and that's like weird spelling, but old English Tag. So I'm gonna go Tag, not Taji, not Taggy, not Tajiji,
not Tajay.
Tajay.
You say Tag. You say Tag with like a thick Scottish accent, like Tag. It's like,
and that's why he gives that experience. He tags his troopers. He says, "Tag, you're it," and he gives them all XP. So that's how you know.
General Tagus, who gets turned into a sausage by Vader.
Right. Yeah. No. Garrett, Nick, do you have any other thoughts?
He's cheap. I haven't played around with them yet at all, so I don't really know how likely you're going to ever be able to get your 3 value out of it. I think if you get the 2 value regularly, that seems really good. Like really good. I just don't know. Even 1's fine. And he's an official, so he still turns on your Royal Guard.
He kind of feels like 2-drop Leia to me, where like you generally don't want to play them
On 2 just to play them.
unless
play
you
them
have to, unless
because
you've
the body
mulliganed into
isn't
it.
doing you anything really.
No.
Like the 2/2 part it can do
It
something, but
trades to
not
all
really.
the 2/3s. Like you're just wasting cards to play it usually.
But like
I do like
I think it'll be fine eventually.
it, if we get a leader trooper, he maybe becomes a little more
Ooh,
interesting.
yeah.
Because then like you have this like turn where you can flip your leader that you're like looking to play him, and maybe you have like your leader and one other trooper out, and you get a couple tokens, and you're happy about it. But we don't have one yet.
Hey,
So,
if Iden's gonna be a leader, Iden could be a trooper, right?
Yeah.
right.
Maybe.
If we eventually ever see Phasma, I'm sure she would be a trooper.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do
But
leaders?
that's crossing eras. You can't do that. That's illegal.
This is unlimited.
Oh, right. Never mind.
Unlimited. Do leaders? I assume to put a +1/+1 token, the leader has to be in play and flipped. You can't
Yeah,
pre-stop
you
Yeah.
can't
somebody.
Yeah.
buff anything that's not.
Because it
Yeah,
wouldn't be a
they're a
Even
unit
if it's
leader on
set.
the leader
units.
side. They're not a unit till you deploy them. Then they're a leader unit, and you
Okay.
can
Yeah.
buff them with unit things,
Not all squares can be circles with +1/+1. I gotcha.
something like that. Moving on, an event mission briefing. Nick, tell me about what you think about mission briefing.
I don't know about this card. It seems like it's something that's in a lot of games for a similar cost. I don't know. Maybe Vader wants it. Maybe not. I don't know. It's maybe fine in draft. You don't know what else to do with your life. Because if you don't have anything to do with it, you just make it a resource. This is
It's always the
just play
go-to.
bad cards and make them resources. That's how we play the game.
Ugh.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that someone's gonna find some good use from it. I just don't know it right off the bat right now. And with draw being slightly devalued with the fact that we draw 2 already, like I don't know. At 2, it would feel pretty good.
Yeah. What do you think, Wyatt? You look confused.
I guess I'm kind of curious. Has there already been talk of formats for 2v2?
Or anything like that. No, I don't think there's been. They've said that there is a multiplayer, and the game was designed for it, which makes me think that there will be some before it comes out. But we're not getting a stream of that this month.
Sure.
Maybe
So I mean,
next month.
this is a card that in that format seems like it might be more interesting because of the choose a player option. Like, I could
Yeah.
see, I could see it as a support card in a different format, having utility it doesn't have in the main game.
Right. Like you
And that
could
could be
even
cool.
in a free-for-all multiplayer where it's political, this
Sure.
could be a bargaining chip. Like I'll let you draw 2 cards if you don't mess with me.
Yeah, and that's fine if that's the best use out of this. That's fine too, because not every
I
card has to be a killer.
I think in limited it's pretty solid since you need more card draw in limited. More often than not, just because you're not optimized. But I also see it maybe for the future if we get more mill stuff to force someone to draw 2 cards they don't have and get
I mean,
popped for
maybe
damage.
If
that's
you
just
get
weird
all the
because
way there.
right now, what we see for mill is double blue,
It's
or
Kanan.
you at least have to go blue, but like double blue with vigilance. Like I guess you can pay the tax, but like, I mean, one resource per card milled with the aspect tax plus another benefit, I guess is I don't know. It's really hard to evaluate what the value of mill is, and
I'm a mill player, so I'm thinking for the future.
I mean,
I
I'll
can't
try
make
it
a mill deck right now.
if it's viable, but I don't know. It can't feel worse than it did in Destiny. That's all I can hope because
I mean, I'm gonna have the hot take that I think this is one of the worst cards we've seen spoiled, and I don't
oh, you mean it's
know.
worse than Tactical
It
Advantage?
is. I think this is worse than Tactical Advantage because, like, it's 3 to draw 2, but really, it's pay 3 to get like 1 extra card because, like, you're giving up a card
Yep.
to replace
That's why
it,
I
and you're
said
getting
like it
one
maybe at
more.
2 it'd be all
I
right,
know.
but
I don't know. Feels real bad. I don't. It's a lot of resources for 1 extra card. when you already just get 2 per turn, you just not resource stuff. And
If there's like a leader that reduces event costs or something like that,
yeah, maybe.
like first event every round you play reduced by 1,
That's
like that'd be
actually
cool.
that's kind of spicy because I could even
Like,
see a leader that
there's a lot of stuff that could be
does
cool
more
and
than
broken with
one,
that. But
and then it gets interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate it. Moving on to another card that's not that great, the 97th Legion. Garrett, do you like 97th Legion?
I don't like 97th Legion. Like, if you're dropping 7 resources, I want something better than this. Like, I I just don't like it. I think the artwork's
Pure
fine.
beefcake.
I think it's fine that it's like a single aspect. Like, I think in limited this might be fine, but I don't ever see myself putting this in a constructed deck. Like, I think, limited games tend to go a little bit longer just because you don't have those crazy kills unless somebody gets something nuts, which will happen. But like, you'll get 7 resources in a limited game, and this is fine because no one's gonna have an answer for it. But I just why? It's an Imperial Trooper. You're not putting it in a hero deck.
yeah.
It's true.
Oh right, I forgot it's neutral, which is really weird thematically.
They're just keeping the peace. They're not
But
bad.
It's the
I
Outer Rim.
guess.
There's no rules out there.
They're
True.
just doing their jobs.
I don't think a
They're
hero
just
deck would play it
following
either.
orders.
But I don't know. Maybe there's a deck with troopers that just goes really all in on troopers, and
Yeah.
because there's probably not going to be any space troopers, completely ignores space and loses the game that way. But
I mean, green can ramp at least, so I guess there's something
yeah.
for this. But I just don't. For
I
7
mean, it gets
resources.
ambushed with Piet. That's pretty good. Like
Yeah, it's like
if you
interesting
actually
that
ambush this guy, like if you're just playing like I want to ramp up and like rely on Piet to just like clear board, that's actually doesn't seem terrible as another
Fair.
body for that. Like I guess it's one more than ATST, but it's just kind of like another ATST.
Yeah, I was gonna say with ramp, the one thing he has with ramp is that he keeps getting bigger. So like late game, a lot of times you're like ramp is dead. I'm gonna just resource my super laser technician or resupply. This basically turns those into give this guy an XP token, which is a thing, but I think it's still just a hard ass to play something expensive that can't impact the board the round that you play it. That's usually asking in most decks just to like dumpster on you and then hit it with removal next round, and
Yeah.
then you did nothing.
Have we seen events or upgrades that give overwhelm to troopers?
No,
We have not seen any overwhelm on like an
like on an
upgrade yet.
event or anything or
We've
upgrade.
seen infiltrate on
Yeah.
something we'll talk about in a little bit.
Which is
It's on
coming
here.
up.
Or sabotage.
Because I mean that is one value to something that scales as much as you have money. If you're rich, the potential to play this card and then something that does grant it overwhelm the following round makes it really spicy.
The clear and push at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Moving on, Wedge Antilles. Wyatt, take Wedge Antilles and describe the Star of the Rebellion. It's a pun.
Yeah, so
Nobody
first things
got
first,
it.
Wedge is the uncle of who cares? Each friendly vehicle, Ewan McGregor. He's the uncle of Ewan McGregor. Each friendly vehicle unit gets +1/+1 and gains ambush. It seems good. It seems like something I would want to kill if my opponent played it. I really don't like it existing. Its stat line isn't incredible, but actually seems pretty solid considering it's granting both +1/+1 and ambush. I don't have a lot to compare this to because, like I said in the first episode, I'm only doing spoilers in this context. I'm trying to go in kind of fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking at this, it seems good to me based on what I know of most card game economics.
Cool. Wrong answer. All right, Gary, you want to tell him the right answer?
That's mostly what I feel too. Wrong answer.
He's fine. He doesn't make me that excited. I think if you combo him with Bright Hope, they're really good together, which I think we're going to talk about next probably. Together, I think they're very solid. The problem is there aren't that many vehicles, at least that we've seen. Like by set 3, I think Wedge is going to be pretty good. But right now, like I'm playing an X-wing, I guess, and getting a +1/+1 on it.
Yeah, I
And
think
ground vehicles. We need more ground vehicles.
Yes,
that's what I was gonna say. The big secret problem with Wedge, from what we've seen so far, is that like 98% of the space or vehicle units are space, and
So
he
he
goes
has
to
to be
the
played on the
ground.
ground. So if you're playing
So you're
okay,
not protecting him
yeah,
with the stuff that
that
he
makes
The
sense.
only ground vehicle we have
Snow
already has
speeder.
ambush, so it's just like half his ability doesn't do anything with it. Like
Yeah,
Wedge is too slow and only works if you have a huge ground presence, and then it just feels like all it's doing is win more, because then now you win space too. Essentially, it's
Yeah,
like
that's what
either
I'm
he comes
saying.
on the board, he's not impactful. Like in what I've tried to play with him, the best case use of Wedge was ramming him into something with energy conversion lab, and then maybe he lives for a round or two.
right.
Otherwise, probably not.
That's
But
why I'm
yeah, if you
saying
had a
I
bunch
said
of
3.
ground units, yeah, so if you had a bunch of ground units to curve out around him, I think it becomes scary because like then all of a sudden he hits the table, and if your opponent can't get rid of him like immediately or by an event, like anything else they play to ground, you're like, I'm gonna ambush, I'm gonna ambush, I'm gonna ambush. All my stuff's bigger. Like my action economy is like way better than yours. But with space units, it's kind of a non-bow, I feel, because like at least he's okay body size, but he's just gonna get
Yeah, I
tabled.
mean, I guess he's kind of like he's got against non-aggro mini sentinel, because people are gonna want to kill it before it makes things worse. I assume we're also gonna get at least a few more ground vehicles
We have to.
that'll be usable with him, because that would be pretty sad.
Yeah,
Like
hope
even
so.
just like basic ass like speeder or something. We gotta get like the
Might not be
Emperor
a set
speeders or
one thing
something,
though.
right?
Like I said, it
I
could be
know.
like
Well, I mean, there's plenty of ground vehicles in the original Star Wars, right?
Yeah,
Not as
yeah, sure.
much.
not on
Defending
the hero side. I
Not
think
as
is a
yeah,
lot
really
more.
not on the heroes. It's just like basic speeders.
Yeah, like
defending my
speeder.
original answer, I do think you have to answer him anytime you can play something that has to be answered. That's not bad.
Sure.
True.
Unless you have nothing in space, then it's just like, well,
Yeah.
ambush doesn't do anything in space if I have nothing in there, so I don't even need to kill it.
Like I see a future by like set 3 where you have Wedge and your sideboard is changing out space for ground vehicles depending on what you're playing against,
Yeah, that'd
and
be
like
cool.
Wedge can be very solid. But that's for the future. It's
Yeah,
kind of like another
he's
card
probably
I
a
think we're
future
going to
card.
talk about soon too.
All right, let's talk about Bright Hope. Nick, tell us about the Bright Hope.
This seems like super good. This is like big
The
beefy
last
body,
Bright Hope.
early game-ish. My opponents are taking over space and I don't know what to do. At least I have a bright hope. I feel like early you might not get a lot of value out of the bouncing a ground unit back into your hand to draw a card, but I mean that can also be a big deal. The card advantage that you gain from that, because you're essentially getting 2 back, and if you're like popping like an R2D2, who cares? Who really cares if you have to pop an R2 back? You can pop it back down. I really like Bright Hope. I feel like with the cards we have now, it kind of filled a hole in what was like missing in like hero space, that they just didn't have anything that like felt solid in that range at all. I don't even know villain really does either, but this does kind of like answer a lot of like, they throw down a tie advance, this will kill it. They try to interceptor it. I mean, at least it'll trade with interceptor evenly in the end, 4 for 4 mana. But
Right.
I mean, overall, I just like it, and obviously at a 2/6, it's a good buff vehicle if you have stuff, and it's rebel, so you can still wing leader to make it huge in space. Or if you're playing blue, you can entrench it and make it huge and just never gonna die.
Yeah, just let
And
it
there's
hang
a lot
out.
of fun stuff you can do with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think like having that top of curve space sentinel for like when you're playing the X wings or the A wings is annoying to say the least, and it does have some good combos with the bounce. Like yeah, R2 or like any one cost unit. Obviously, I think Leia is interesting,
Yeah,
particularly
yeah. So
because her
stuff with
effect is
one
really
play
good.
for sure.
Because you pay 2, exhaust something, play this, pick her back up, draw a card. You
I
can
don't feel terrible. Like Akbar costs 3, but that effect can be pretty good too if you're already doing
pound
well
the
on the
back
ground.
doors.
Anything with ambush, like it's good with
Yep.
that. You hit something, take the damage, bounce it back.
Wyatt,
Maybe
any
we haven't
thoughts?
seen the best things to use it with yet, but
True. Wyatt, any thoughts on the Bright Hope?
Do we have any ways to bounce space units?
I mean,
Waylay?
other than it,
Waylay can do anything.
like, or you mean pick this back up into your hand?
Yeah. Is there a way to bounce this?
not
It's not
easily.
well.
Okay. If there ever is, I think there's some really interesting recursive value things you could start doing.
I mean, you can play it again with home one if it dies. If you play home one with 9 resources, that could be pretty good.
Moving on to funner stuff. Bosk, the deadly stalker. Wyatt, review
He's a
Bosk.
lizard with a gun.
Oh God, you had to go there.
I'm just tired of Trandoshans being good. I lived through one game where that's true, and if it's true in this game, I'm out. Let's see, Bosk, Underworld Bounty Hunter. He's a 4/5 with ambush, and when you play an event, you may deal 2 damage. Holy shit. Yeah, he seems very, very good. I would load him up in an event, I don't know, aggro control deck probably, and go to town.
He's a 4/5 for 5. Like he's incredible.
With ambush.
He's only an uncommon.
Ambush. Yeah, it's like this. You could call that a legendary, and I think people would believe you.
Yeah. He's great.
It's the fact that he's uncommon means he's actually going to show up at draft, and then he's going to be your nightmare.
Villain Cunning is going to be nuts with that and Boba and like Slave 1 or Fet's Fire Spray. Like it's going to be
Boba is
good.
also common, right?
The
Boba's
Boba
the common
unit is
leader.
legendary, but yeah,
No, sorry,
leader.
the Boba leader is common, so
Yeah,
he pairs very well into a Boba deck. That definitely.
But yeah, even just
well
if
with
Boba
that.
flips on 5, so you could flip your Boba and then play your Bosk with the ambush, kill something, ready 2 resources with Boba, use that 2 resources to play an event, get the 2 damage. Seems fine.
It makes the Boba swing turn even more possibility for nuts.
Yeah, he's insane.
I like Bosk.
Really,
I
really
haven't
good.
really gotten to. I don't think I've actually gotten to do anything with him yet. Everything game I've either tried to play with Bosk in it, he either doesn't come out at the table or I was so behind it didn't matter. So that's the only sad part is I never got to use my lizard with a gun.
Yeah, that 2 damage can hit space units too. That's so good. It's not limited.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like anything that lets you pop a little bit cross lane feels pretty nice. Like throw a unit down and affect the other lane, just like basically double stabilizing. I feel like those cards are very appealing to me, and we're gonna see a few more too.
I just like that you use that with open fire or force choke, and you're doing 6 or 7 damage. Like it is nuts.
Yeah, the leader killer, Bosk.
Moving on to probably Nick's favorite card. I'll let him talk about Count Dooku.
Yep, Dooku is pretty awesome. Again, another Krennic card. I mean, and Tarkin probably if you play blue Tarkin, or blue Boba if you're one of those persons.
Villain.
Just playing blue. If you're playing blue villain, I'm pretty sure you want Dooku, unless you're like a weird rushier blue deck, which probably isn't going to happen as much unless you're because Gandorg was playing blue Sabine. Can't forget about that. I don't think you played.
But I can't play this in Sabine.
Yeah, maybe you could. You pay 9, but
yeah.
No, Dooku's great. He comes out and he's a mini takedown, and by a mini I mean like he hits 1 less. So if you cost him at the price of more of like 3 for that effect, so it's more like an open fire, but can go around shields and stuff, then you're getting a 5/4 for 4 with shielded. Like that seems super. Like the fact that this is all in one card. I mean, he's a force, so that can that can. At this point, it's mostly just the force choke. I don't think there's anything else
Fallen lightsabers force unit.
Fallen lightsaber. There you go.
Yeah,
that would be gross.
They have the hero heal and force unit to deal damage, but I don't think
binds all things as a hero, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna pay for that in a villain deck.
I can't remember that was hero or just blue neutral, but yeah.
But yeah, no, I love Dooku. This is like exactly what you want as a big swing card in like a control-y matchup, because a 5/4 with shielded is going to, I mean, 3 for 1 probably. He's going to auto kill something and then take 2 hits, maybe kill 2 smaller medium things to die. I mean, Dooku is just nuts. Like
It
the
might
biggest
be-
downside about Dooku is that he dies to himself.
I was going to
And
say
so if
the
you lose the
Dooku.
Dooku Wars,
It's the Clone
You
Wars.
get in a weird Dooku chicken, as people online have called it, where
Yeah.
like you don't want to be the first person to play your Dooku because then the second person will play their Dooku and Dooku your Dooku, and then it's just
yeah,
Dooku's
you
all.
can't Dooku until you have 2 Dookus in hand.
Yeah, then you have to Dooku their Dooku that they Dooku.
And
It's a real
a
dookie.
takedown also kind of works. But...
It Binds All Things is single aspect blue, so
Oh, okay.
I would
So
put
you
it.
could play
I would
that.
put it in that deck. Yeah.
The thing is, we just don't have a lot of Force users on villain
Yeah.
right now, and especially with like a Krennic blue-green type of deck, I don't think he'd be like the only one, right?
Yeah, we don't have anything else on villain side.
So
Is he the first shielded unit we've seen?
he was the first one that. Is there another one? No, he's the
No.
first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the
Because that
first one.
keyword was new.
That's what I thought.
It makes sense. I didn't even think it
Yeah.
like of anything evidence. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah, we
just
saw
a
it in the rules, but we hadn't seen one yet. I don't think.
Oh, it was already in the quick start guide. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Yep. Wyatt, anything to share about Dooku?
Nah, he looks good. I agree with what people are saying.
The art captured his signature look of superiority very well.
I like him much more than Mace personally. For if we're talking our cross era cards.
Yeah, that is a good point to know that he is not from the OT, so he is out of era for the few that we've seen. Cool stuff. Moving on, the one leader that we got in the past 2 weeks, Hera Syndulla. I'll talk about this one. She's been a little bit, I don't know, debated because her only ability is that you can ignore the aspect penalty on Spectre cards that you play. So she's green, but like you could play, blue Kanan, you could play yellow Ezra, you can play the red Sabine all in her deck and like keep her in, say, double green aspect, double command, and still get like all of those out of aspect cards, which seems pretty good. But unlike most of the other leader effects we've seen, it doesn't actually get you anything real other than just deck building mechanics, I guess. I'm not a super huge, I don't know. Like, I think it'll make a fun theme deck. I don't know how far it'll go. Unless like we get some Spectre cards that just combo together in some busted way. Like the cards totally dictate what it does. And I'm not sure with what we have now if it's totally broken yet. She is a 6 flip, which is on the top side of what we've seen. And honestly, her size on her leader side is kind of small for a 6 resource flip, being at just a 4/6.
Boba's a 4/7 at 5.
At 5,
Makes me say
Luke's
like, why isn't she a 5? She would have been completely balanced at 5.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Luke's
that's
a
true, but I want to
4/7
say it's true.
at 6. Yeah, Luke's a 4/7 at 6. And also has his shield ability, which I think is way more relevant. So it's like just comparing her to Luke, it feels like Luke just kind of steps on her, other than this ignoring aspects penalties on Spectre cards, which again is just totally depends on if we see some really cool Spectre combos, because if not, she's hot garbage. She does get the ability on attack on her unit side to give an experience token to another unique unit, can't be herself, which does obviously combo with playing all the Spectres, and like, I don't know, like people are already playing pretty heavy unique decks, but that's reminiscent of, say, Tarkin, which Tarkin can just give an experience token to an Imperial. It's about the same, I think, restriction level. It's about the same level, but again, Tarkin flips at 5 and is a 2/7. She flips
And he
at
can
6.
do stuff before.
And he actually has an ability that's relevant before he flips, other than letting you play things. So I don't know. She's yet to be determined. That's my judgment on her. I'm not super sold on her yet.
I think she's gonna be good. Whenever we will see more Spectre cards. There's only like 3 right now. We will see more.
Right.
When we do, it all depends on how good those cards are. And I think she's someone that will get better as the game goes on, and she has more options to like break deck building. But right now, like no one's gonna use her right now because what are you gonna do? Just put Sabine, Ezra, and Kanan in the deck? That's it. Like,
Yeah,
which is
or Oda
fine.
Zeb,
They're all good,
at
but
least
like
we haven't seen Zeb. Hopefully, there's Zeb, and like they could always like breadcrumb us and not have like Zeb or Ghost or Phantom or like things that you
Chopper,
think
yeah.
or Chopper. Yeah, I forgot about Chopper too. Like, I don't know. These are things that we could see. Like, there could be a solid like 10 card core to this deck. But then, like I said, it all hinges on like you get these like 10 Spectre cards, and do they have the synergy to overcome the fact that you kind of don't actually have a leader ability?
Yeah, I suspect this is tier fun, and I think that was true for most of the Spectre cards that came out in the tail end of Destiny's lifespan, where there were lots of ways similar to this to decrease their cost to put them in a deck together. It didn't make for a hyper competitive experience, but it was fun if you really like your rebels and you wanted to, kind of break rules to get more rebel characters in one team than otherwise would be allowed. So I suspect she's going to fill a similar role here. There's a chance that enough Spectre cards come out over time that if they keep kind of that keyword tribe supported, there will eventually be a point where something slips past and she becomes really strong. But historically, when I've seen FFG build a like pre-built combo to break their own rules, it doesn't get to be incredibly strong because they built it for it.
And I can tell you why. It's because in Imperial Assault they had a Spectre Cell upgrade that was unbelievably broken. That like the top like 8 teams 1 year at Worlds or something were all running the exact same Spectre Cell team.
Uh,
And so ever since then we can't have broken Spectre,
Can't
which
do
is a
it.
shame. But
that feels
I
very
think
believable.
that's kind of how the way it went. I think.
Fair enough. All right, we only have like 3 more left. So moving on to stuff that we found out. Like, what was this? Was this week? I don't even remember. Or was it
It
late last
was. It
week?
was. It was earlier. It
This
was like
is
Monday.
It was like Monday.
This
Oh
was
yeah, this
Monday.
was the last of aggression month that
Yeah.
we found infiltrator skill, the upgrade. Garrett, you haven't talked in a while. Give us a rundown of infiltrator skill.
I like this one. I mean, any kind of like 1 cost +1/+1, I think is worth it, and getting Saboteur just makes it even better. And just being a single red, there's no other anything to put on it. Like this is gonna go in most aggro decks probably because getting busting through shields or just ignoring defender or sentinel will just like that's what you want in that kind of deck.
Fair. Wyatt, do you concur?
I don't know anything about curve in this game, but I actually question if this is above curve. The 1/1 plus the ability to for sure bypass shields and sentinel, which is things that like if I'm playing a deck that wants to buy time, I'm going to be doing one or both of those things. And the fact that a card can come along that bypasses both those strategies while also making a body stronger seems very good. Like I agree, this seems like an aggressive, uh, like perfect upgrade card for an aggro deck, and it's almost too perfect, I think, because what does aggro want? The ability to bypass all the things that slow down them killing.
100% fair. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you're playing it outside of aggro, and it seems like it's probably good enough to make it into constructed for some aggro. I don't know if you put it in everything, but probably depends on how much Sentinel's being run, which I assume everyone's going to run some amount of Sentinel. I don't know. At the very least, I don't see how this doesn't make it in like every aggro sideboard as a
I was going to say,
this has
at
to be here.
minimum, it's a fantastic
It's going to
sideboard
get
card.
played because it's going to at minimum be in a sideboard.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I go farther. I think right now I was telling people like any red deck should probably be running 3 of these, even if you're slower, mid range, or control, because why not? Like you're gonna go against other decks that have shields, have sentinels, uh, and this counters that. And I think like there's a math thing in play where if you and your opponent both play 3 cost 3 attack or 3 power 4 health units, and then you make yours a 4/5 that can eat theirs without dying, like that's huge because then you're putting the onus on them to have like another answer just to keep card advantage even, and if they don't, you're getting ahead on base damage. Like
Yep.
+1/+1 can't be I don't know, you don't want to underestimate it because of the way it changes on curve trades. And in a game that's like
Yeah.
about board control, like if my guys live and your guys die, and then all of a sudden you're having to do other things just to catch up, but like in the meantime I'm hitting your base for 4 damage a pop a couple extra times, like that adds up. Yeah, the only downside, like the only reason I think it's maybe not too overcurve, like Wyatt said, is that like upgrades always have that inherent risk of, opening yourself up to being 2-for-1. You pop your upgrade and they're like, here's my 1 card removal that, removes both of yours. And then you feel real bad about yourself.
Or a
But
waylay.
But you didn't
or a way,
overpay for it.
yeah, but like at least you don't pay a lot for it, and like you can pick your moments to use it. Like that might be a
being
little
able
bit
to
of like
being able
a
to
skill issue.
punch through to an important thing hiding behind Sentinel can. It's hard to
Yeah,
say
that
like
too.
how often is that going to happen, but it is going to happen sometimes. And just being like, I'm not going like you think, oh aggro, I'm going to put this on my guy and go face, but like no, I mean if you're playing more like a mid rangey thing with red, you could still play this of like your Sentinel is not the most important thing to kill. It is just the thing that I have to kill to
Yeah,
control the rest of the board, but be able to
that's a great
pop like
example.
reveres behind Sentinel. That could be huge.
Yeah, I was gonna say we see that already because you see in like the Tarkin deck that round 3 they'll drop the Emperor's Royal Guard. Round 4 they'll drop Veers, and Veers is an official, so it makes the Emperor's Royal Guard a Sentinel. But you need to kill the Veers because Veers is giving all of the Imperial units +1/+1. Here's your answer. You put it on your 3-drop. Not only can it just swing past the Sentinel, it's also going to kill Veers without trading. Like,
Yeah.
and then you can also end up killing the friggin' Emperor's Royal Guard on the next attack or your next chance. So
It also
like
puts your 5 HP units out of takedown range.
that too.
I would say this could be pretty good in Boba too, just because Boba also doesn't like Boba has in the 5 with between Bosk and Boba and Little Boba, like you got some like solid stat lines of like for their costs, and like just not necessarily like you have Surprise Strike kind of thing. Well, no, Surprise Strike's here. Surprise Strike's not hero, is it?
No, it's just neutral yellow.
Yeah. So
Neutral
you have
green.
Surprise Strike, like to punch up, but also like you just don't have a lot of permanent buffs in like red yellow Boba, so be able to pop through the Sentinels could be still pretty good in
Yeah.
that.
Fun
I think
fact.
Boba likes just having more 1-cost things that
Yeah,
if you
and the
play
fact it's the one cost thing,
forced.
so you could play it, attack, trade with something, or attack something, and maybe go for the 2-for-1 because that extra health might not make you trade, and then at that point, then you get your resource back.
Yep. Nope. All fair.
One last thing
Yeah.
on infiltrators.
Oh, sure. Go
Just
for it.
based on what I've learned tonight, if I play this on like a 2-cost unit that has 3 power, I can kill Dooku. So this is our counter Dooku card.
It's true. You can
Yeah.
straight counter Dooku. Kill his shields and then
That is
kill.
something we actually haven't seen. I feel like a lot of, or at least I haven't run into a lot. Is the shield killing aspect of Saboteur? Obviously versus certain decks it can be huge. It's just I haven't seen a whole lot of it because we just don't have a ton of Saboteur out there. But like aggro's not going to be caring about your shields as much if they're just trying to punch base. But like if you are using this on something that's still using Saboteur to maintain board control, the shield kill could be very clutch.
Yeah. No,
Cheap
all
upgrade removal.
still standing by. Every red deck should be playing 3 of these until proven otherwise. I don't care if you're aggro control or whatever. Moving on. The Devastator.
Our newest ones.
Our newest ones. Our biggest ones. I think this is the most expensive unit we've seen. Wyatt, tell us why this is amazing.
Okay, well, first of all, it's a 10-10-10. We've already established that things that cost the same as its power and health is symmetrical.
And if you play it on 10 resources, it will deal 10
right,
damage.
yeah, you
so
deal
boom.
damage to a unit equal to number of resources, which
That's
is absolutely
40,
insane.
4 times 10, that's 40 power.
That's 40. This is a 10-10-10-10, which is everything I've ever wanted from tonight. No, realistically, it's got, I think, probably the 2 best keyword combination you can have for a game-ending card. People have to go through it, and it goes over everyone else. So that feels like a really good thing. Like, I think even if this was just a 10-10-10 that did 10 damage...
Over one wasn't going over, it's going through more.
Sure. But like again, if this was a 10-10-10 that did 10 damage on play, it would be interesting. It wouldn't be amazing, but it'd be interesting, right? Like we've already established like a 7/7 for 7 isn't that spicy, but could have its uses. A 10-10-10 that also deals 10 on play would be strong. And on top of that, it has Sentinel and Overwhelm. So obviously if you're playing this, you're either winning or losing because it's pretty late game and this is a huge unit. but it comes with the right flashy things to accompany its cost.
But it just dies to Doomblade. What about that?
The
I mean,
Doomblade? What's Doomblade?
It's a magic reference. It dies to
Oh,
Vanquish.
it dies to the removal. I mean, yeah,
The
but
original dies to
but it
removal.
did something. It killed something as well.
It
I don't.
did 10 damage on play.
I mean, it does say like if you don't remove me now, you're pretty much toasted. Um, the only downside with this is just like, does the game get to round 10? That's like the
9.
biggest downside to me. Or round
9, but yeah.
Does it get to the 10 resource turn? And that's assuming you didn't even ramp, which you probably did by the time you got there with green villain.
If you're playing this, you're playing ramp.
Yeah, if you're playing this, you're playing
Yeah.
a ramp deck. This is 100% a Timmy card, and hell yeah.
This will definitely see play. Whether or not it's like in every, I don't think it'll be in every green deck because you're not gonna be able to play it against everything. The very least, it's probably gonna be in sideboards, being like, do I need to cut down my curve and prepare for against aggro, or do I need to push up and have a late game threat that'll win against other stuff? And this will do that. If you don't need to worry about aggro and you think you can go the long game, this thing is going to help close you out for sure. I like it.
Yeah. I think that's the hard part. Like in my double green Tarkin that already runs Super Laser Technician for ramp and already runs Command that can ramp, I think I slot this in because, just I have my ways of ramping an extra resource or two. I can play this out, round 7 probably in a lot of games, and that feels real good as like a closer. But
I think it'll see play in double green, because you can ramp. You have at least 6 ramp cards, right? So like, or
yeah, some
at
people are
least
running
9.
like if you run double green, you can run resupply too. So you can technically have
Yeah,
3 Super
9
Laser
ramp
Tech,
cards.
3
Resupply, super
resupply, and
laser,
3
command.
commands.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I don't think this is the card to make Galactic Ambition playable, even though
No.
it is the most expensive one, because taking 10 damage to your base still sounds super terrible. And I don't see many positions where you'd be able to do that. So
Agree.
that's a no for me, dog. But this card, I like it. And it
Unless
might
we
not
have
be
those
everywhere.
cheaper
But
event cards that we talked about earlier, then maybe.
yeah. The Galactic Ambition is still waiting for like a multi-piece combo that we have not been privy to yet.
For sure.
I don't
All
know,
right,
man.
I think. Sorry, what?
Taking 10 to your own face to deal 10 to something else very well
so,
could be
to be
worth
fair,
it.
Galactic Ambition is the 7 cost event, so you still have to have 7 to play a 10 cost at the expense of taking 10. That's
You take damage equal
and you
to
wouldn't
their
even
cost.
deal 10 damage. You'd only deal 7. It would only be a 10, 10, 10, 7, and then you'd feel really bad.
It's only
And while that's
37.
worse, I still feel like there's going to be times where if somebody was already going to hit you in the face for 7 and you can play this and take 7 to your own face to take that thing off the board, it's worth it. So like there's going to be plenty of use cases where this becomes interesting.
That's fair. That's fair.
Let's do it.
I mean,
Wyatt.
0 Hour will try it. He'll try anything.
I will literally try any deck. I don't give. I don't care.
Fair. And then last, but certainly not least, other than in stature, the Ardent Sympathizer.
I've heard some people were calling him mini bays, and I kind of like that.
He is
Baby
mini bays.
bays. Baby
He's
bays.
after it. Like this guy is neutral. He doesn't care who he kills as long as he kills someone with his repeating blaster.
He is sympathizing with something.
Yeah, he's sympathizing with something. Nick, what do you think of this guy?
I mean, I don't know. This one's probably a skill issue kind of card, as of like how well you can manage initiative. If you feel like if you're in a position where you are having it more often than not, obviously a 5/3 is very good and pretty much kills all the other 3 drops that you'd ever want to kill. But the problem is like so early game curve, like right on 3. It can happen quite often early game. I play a 1-drop, you play, or if I play a 2-drop, you play a 2-drop. Next turn, I play a 3-drop, you play 3-drop. Next turn, attack with it. Like this, essentially the point of there's a possibility that if everyone's just playing 1 unit on curve and attacking with it, that early game initiative is more or less determined by who got it to start with. So it might be one of the things of you might not play this out as much if you did start with the initiative. if you do, it seems really good. At the same time, a 3/3 for 3 is like fine. I don't know. It seems really good in draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of 3 cost 3/4s. So like, if you don't have initiative, it's potentially very bad.
That is true. There are quite a bit of those.
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things. Like, you could the classic. You could just resource it if you don't have initiative.
Yeah.
You don't have to play it. Like, and then you can play it when you do have initiative.
I mean,
But like,
first of
I don't
all,
know. I think that's the other
short
problem. Is
kings
like
unite.
short kings unite. I think like even if you do have initiative, and you're like, aha, I get my 3/5, and it's like, yeah, you get like one attack for like an extra couple damage, but then your opponent kills it, or your opponent hits like claims first and then kills it with a 3/4 or something. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's ways your opponents can just make it fall apart, and then you're not happy that you
Yeah.
played.
So
But it's a common single aspect card. We can't expect much. I do love the art though.
I
Yeah,
do. Yeah, I really do like the art.
I think it's pretty versatile
You
and
don't
like
see a lot of Celestians. Is that what they're called? Celestians?
Celestin.
Celestins.
Yeah, Celestins.
Neon
What were you saying?
Nebs.
Why you feel what?
I feel like the fact that it doesn't have raid, but it just gets the +1 initiative is cool. Like that, it rewards you for not just swinging, but also for playing a certain type of tempo. And like I did the math, and if you put Infiltrator skill on it, then it can hit as a 6 for bypassing shields, but it still dies when they play Dooku on top of it. So you can take out their Dooku and they get counter Dooku, which is a problem. But here we are.
He
If your
did the
3-drop trades into a Dooku, you're pretty happy.
Let's be
Yeah.
clear, it's your 3-drop with another card, so it was a 2 for 1.
Still 2 for 1.
The math was done. Anyway, that's all the spoilers that we had. Does anybody have a favorite spoiler out of all those?
There's probably Dooku.
I probably do. Yeah, I knew.
I think I agree with you there.
Duke is your favorite. You're not going with the A-wing? I like the A-wing.
There's a special place in my heart for Dooku because of Destiny. So he'll always be a card I'm gonna try to make work. If I had to pick another one, it would probably be the A-wing because I like it a lot.
The A-wing is fun. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't like the A-Wing because I don't want to ever have to deal with it. Because I know I'm not going to necessarily play it a lot because I'm not going to play that aspect combination as much. So I don't like the A-Wing just because I don't want to deal with it.
He doesn't like it because he's going to lose to it a lot. That's what I'm hearing.
That's exactly what I was saying without sounding his butthurt.
You guys are all sleeping on the seasoned Shoretrooper who, living up to his name, is a very tasty snack.
He is very
He's
hot.
not bad. And I don't think you saw Wyatt. There's another one from a little Wyatt before, which is 3/4 for 3 that gains Sentinel at 6 resources. So kind of like another along the theme of not as good, but gets better. So basically becomes an automatic Royal Guard minus the Imperial synergy.
Yeah, I actually immediately like that archetype just from the curve options.
The more resources archetype. Yeah, it's a good archetype. It's fun. Like, it's fun to have cards that give you payoff later in the game that are okay early in the game. Like, the only trade-off is that they're merely okay in the early game. They're not great.
Right.
So
I'm just stressing that if the rebels were looking to like get exactly one person to defect, everyone would be going after this man.
because he's just that hot.
He's that hot, right? Like who do you want on the rebels? You want the hot guy, so let's go for
I'm
it.
just imagining all those
Fair.
Shoretroopers on the beach, volleyball game, taking their shirts off.
They keep the helmets on though.
Keep the helmet. They keep the helmets on. The helmets don't come off. It's where the comms are. They got to stay on comm. But like straight Top Gun, shirtless volleyball.
Dude, now our mind's eyes are completely in sync. This is perfect.
Yes, on the beach. There we go. Anyway, that's all we have to talk about this week. We're already almost on an hour and 20 minutes.
That's what we get for skipping.
That's what we get for skipping. Does
We have
anybody
one
want to
really
drop
important
any?
thing to talk about.
What?
Yeah, there's one other thing we really have to talk about.
What's that?
It's Cunning Month, and that's the only thing that's coming up. Is the Cunning stream next week, right?
Yeah.
True, yeah,
No,
we have
there's
a Cunning
something
stream next week.
else.
Your nose? You got a nose
It's-
job when you were gone.
You're
the
right.
last
You're
4
right.
weeks.
No, it's not my nose, but there's something to make even my cold heart excited.
I
Hmm.
don't know.
Who wants to
Maybe
venture a
some-
guess? Garrett, do you know what it is?
No, I don't. I'm not sure, but it might be something to do with cunning cards. I don't know.
It's something to go on the back of like Vin Diesel's car. I think it's a
Family?
spoiler.
A win foil?
Family? He's putting his family, right? That's all he cares about, like the family on the back of the
All right,
car.
we're gonna leave that metaphor behind, but I think I hear we have spoilers. Is that true?
Maybe. Cannot
Ooh.
confirm or deny, but you might want to pay attention next week.
We have Schrodinger spoilers.
There might be something that we can share. But yeah, next week's going to be a big week. I think not just for us, but Wednesday we have the Cunning podcast from FFG for the start of Cunning month. And yeah, I think
Oh, that's the
we
exciting thing. I got chance cubes.
Ooh,
cubes.
nice.
I did. Galaxy's
That's
Edge.
awesome. You're like, I'm ready for deciding who goes first and
I
Stars
am.
Unlimited.
There's
That
4
is
of
a
them in
great
here.
way of. That is a great way of doing it.
I do like those. Like, I like that better than just like roll a d6 or roll a
exactly.
d10. Because like that ties and it feels really annoying, even when you roll a big die, because it always happens. Like I'll roll like a d12 to like figure out who goes first, and somehow it'll still tie. And then we're like, I gotta roll again. Oh, it's still tied. Can't do that with the chance cube. Just pick
Always
red or
bring a
blue.
D1000. Eliminates these problems.
D1000. I would bring a D1000 and still tie. Like that's the kind of annoyance where you're like, I should just brought a chance cube. It's got 3 red sides, 3 blue sides. We cannot possibly tie. You just pick a color and go. I'll use the Force to change the side. You know, I'll be the Jedi that cheats to win slave children, and it's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that,
I knew those
as we've
reasons
learned.
my favorite. It all makes sense.
Anyway, that's all we got today. So thanks for tuning in this week. And yeah, we'll see you next week with maybe some fun stuff. I'll talk to you later.
See you guys in 5 more weeks.
Bye.
Bye.